Chums Podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Paulus, and with me, as always, is my always reliable and diligent and no-sleeved sidekick, Mr. Roars. Mr. Roars, you're looking fantastic as always. How you been? And what have you been playing? And what have you been watching? What have you been doing? Who you've been doing? Who you've been robbing? Who you've been shopping? Just what's going on, man? Talk to me.
Well, I'd like to first start off by, after of course I say hello, chums, by saying that sleeves are for squares. So I have no use for them. But yeah, I'm all good. I was at my brother's this weekend, so him and his wife have just had a newborn, so nobody's getting any sleep. So yeah, I'm knackered, even though I wasn't doing anything, just because newborn screaming the house down at all hours. But he is a gift, I should say. So it doesn't sound like I'm bitter or anything. But yeah, what have I been doing? Well, I finished rewatching Demon Slayer, which you gave me some shit for last time because I have a terrible memory and have to rewatch things. And then watched Mugen Train, the film, which is all right. It's pretty decent, I guess. It's not as good as the series, but then you can say that for pretty much every anime film. They tend to be kind of.
Aren't they redoing the film for the second season? Sort of redoing.
Well, they've done it as like 4 or 5 episodes, I think, already. So they're already on like Crunchyroll, I think, and I think there's additional stuff in there. So I guess I'll have to watch that at some point and see what's different. But yeah, the film was entertaining. It was just more Demon Slayer, and a lot of anime films, it feels like they're like a side story, and they just kind of like fit in a gap that nobody really knew was there to begin with. But this obviously is a direct continuation of season 1, so it flows, but it's still, it's not going to hold up to like a full arc season. It's still entertaining if you like Demon Slayer. And after that, I thought I'd take a break from anime because I've been watching nothing but anime for ages, and thought I'd catch up with the cool kids and watch Squid Game. So I'm about 4 episodes into that now. They just started playing tug of war, and it is some mad shit, quite frankly. It's a lot. Yeah, it's good. It is good. It's just it's quite a lot. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
What have I been playing? Forza Horizon 5 just came out, which I guess we'll probably mention again in the news section. So I've been playing a bit of that, and it is very, very good. And I think that's about it.
Excellent. All right.
What about you?
Me, I have been I've been playing some GTA San Andreas because that dropped on Game Pass, so I thought I'm going to take advantage of that and play it. So yeah, it's good, man. I never really completed or played much of the original San Andreas. I remember it was on the OG Xbox and PS2, but I played it on the OG Xbox. Never owned it. I just played it.
I remember they put out that double pack, didn't they, for the OG Xbox?
Yeah, I remember that. So I've been playing through that, and what have I been doing since we last spoke? Oh God, not too much that involves more than like just going out and stuff and meeting people and all that
extrovert shit,
all that stuff. I've been, I'm quite introvert, but I've been deciding just to get out a bit more because locked in the house.
We've been locked indoors for 2 years.
Yeah, so yeah, just been going out doing a bit more. And what I've been rewatching, not rewatching, but watching Jujutsu Kaisen. I got a bit more into it halfway through it, and where they've changed the start music and the end music, which I'm a bit annoyed about because I don't know. I don't really like it when anime do that. But I just wish they keep the song throughout the whole one season at least. I know I get why they do it, but why halfway through? Because the beginning and end song of Jujutsu Kaisen from the first half is so good. The second half one is not so good.
I'll be honest with you, I can't remember the opening songs at all at this point. I have a terrible memory though, so if I heard it again, I'd be like, "Oh right, yeah."
I still think it's not as good as everyone made it out to be. I just can't seem to see what the big deal is. I'm just not feeling it. I'm just like, I've kind of seen this before and better. I mean, it looks good. The animation's good, but I just thinking it kind of like I don't know. I could go on about it, man. Like, but we could discuss that more on our upcoming anime podcasts, which we plan to do more anime focus. But yeah, I've been streaming. Just Evil Within 2, which is a good game, but oh my god, it can be like really frustrating because they give you very limited resources, and to take out some of these enemies, but like even on normal difficulty, is pretty tough. Like the scrub monsters are pretty easy if you can sneak up on them, but if they're alerted and they alert like 4 or 5 and they sort of pounce you, and you've got a stamina meter which you have to upgrade, and trying to run away from them is annoying. And there's some enemies that just takes so much to take down.
Is that the one we did a video on for one of our month of horrors, and we got lost for like 20 minutes?
What, Evil Within 2? No, we didn't do that one.
Evil Within 2.
Yeah.
So I had a complete brain fart moment. I was thinking Evil Dead.
No, not
Evil. We did a video for an Evil Dead video game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said no sleep.
Evil Within 2, man. It's good, really good. I think it's much better than the first one. Much better. The first one
is very janky.
Yeah, this one's more polished. I like the story more better, and the combat's better. Everything about it is just better. It's a shame it just didn't get the love it got, man. I'm just appreciating it now. I'm just like, wow, this is a really good game. Some genuinely scary parts in it, like which I like. I don't think it's a spoiler that you get sort of stalked throughout, like once you play a few hours into it, about this entity. It's just like, it looks like something from The Ring or The Grudge. It's like long-haired demon woman who's generally quite frightening, and she just like randomly starts stalking you throughout the game. You can sort of go, it's not like you're in a bad situation already. It not teleports you, but it distorts reality, and sort of like you can't really fight it. You have to run away and hide. I'm just like, oh my god, it's really like scary. I'm thinking this is actually more scary than fighting the monsters. But yeah, so that's about it, man. That's it. That's all I've been doing. Christmas is fast approaching us.
Sure is. And all the money we're going to be spending on it.
All the money
is fast leaving us.
All the money we're spending, all the social gatherings that's going to be coming up, social meetings that's going to cost a lot of money. Oh yeah, and I bought a new PC, which I did a video on. I'll put
Paulus has joined the PC master race.
I'll put a little link and description on the video here. Yeah, I bought a PC which it was a pre-built one, cost £900. Like I said, I did a video on it, so it goes into more detail. I'm not really good with unboxing videos, especially with a PC. I was just like, well, here's a PC.
It's kind of clumsy. It's got a big PC.
Well, this is what I got. It's got a keyboard. It came with a keyboard and mouse. Turn it on. It's colorful. So
it's got Windows on it.
Yeah. It's and NVIDIA GeForce 3 something or other.
RTX 3060 Ti is what.
There you are. It's good, man. It runs a Windows 11, which is completely different. Not completely different, but I like this. I like the look of Windows 10 so much better. Windows 11 looks not that good. It looks kind of shitty, to be honest.
Yeah, I haven't upgraded either of my PCs yet to it.
Yeah, but I can't like, it comes with Windows 11. I'm just like, oh man, it's not hard to figure out, but visually, I think Windows 10 is so much better. It's going to be one of those ones where it's going to be like a Windows 8 where no one likes it. Yeah, so I would go into it more, but just watch the video, man. Watch the video. It's good.
We'll say you've been thinking about getting a PC for a while, and it was kind of the KOTOR remake announcement that pushed you over the edge.
I do sort of hint at that in the video if you watch it.
You did indeed.
Yeah. I purposely bought it for Knights of the Royal Republic. I was on the fence with it, but when they mentioned that, I purposely started like looking for for a PC, so I don't have to buy a PS5 to play it because
for a while you were
fuck you.
For a while you were planning on building one, and I was
Mm.
going to come and like talk you through it, and we were going to make a whole video out of it. But
Yes.
the way the component marketplace is right now, it's just not possible.
For the
It's kind of crazy that you could buy like a 900 quid pre-built with a 3060 Ti in it, and just like, yeah, it's bought and it's delivered. You can't buy any graphics cards like on their own at all unless you're prepared to pay 3 times their price for it.
A little side note. I messaged a friend from work. I said, "Oh, you should get his PC," and he then said, "Oh, I'm thinking about it." He then messaged a mutual friend who said, "Oh no, I can get that much cheaper, better one for cheaper." I was like, "All right, man." So I messaged like our friend Dom. I was like, "Is that true?" And he's like, "No, that guy's talking out his ass." Then he started messaging me back. He's like, "Yeah, the price has gone up. Price has gone up." He's like, "Yeah, not for 900 now. I can get similar one for 1,400." I was like, "Okay, that's a big jump, man, like, to build one." So
honestly, 900 quid for the spec you got is right now really good. Like the way the market is at the moment. I should be pretty pleased with that. I mean, I built mine 2 years ago this month, and it cost me 1,500 quid, and that was before all this shit happened. And yeah, the market is just mad at the moment.
That's why it's so.
You got a good PC for 900 quid. No,
I'm pleased with it, man.
Sad about there.
It came on the market on Audi, and then Dom was like, "You got to get it." I was like, "I can't get it at the moment, man. Because I want to get it on my credit card." And I had an issue with that. It's sold out, and everyone's like, "Well, it's going to sell out because it's such a good deal." Luckily, it came back on, and I got it then, and then it sold out like within hours. Like when I was looking at it, it was like 7 left, 6 left. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get it." But I'm pleased with it, man. I haven't really set it up yet because I want to see back here. I'm going to move my television, my consoles, everything to that wall, and have my PC next to it because I don't have the space to have a PC separately because I got my Mac here from work. That's taking up the table. So I'm going to have to be using my TV, which I have to get. I'll be getting a new TV in the new year as well. So that's another fucking expenditures. But yeah, man, let's move on. Otherwise, we can be here all day. And you're going to fall asleep. So, gaming news, Mr. Ross. Gaming news. Any gaming news? We should have researched before we started this podcast.
Well, we've got a couple of things. Like Forza Horizon 5 came out on was it Tuesday? I think it came out.
Yeah, Tuesday.
And they had the early access period for like 3 or 4 days before that. So I think last Friday it went to early access. And for like people that bought the Ultimate Edition, which was quite pricey. And even before it was out of early access, it was nearly at 2 million players. So within like 4 days, I think it was at 3 million or something nearly. And then now it's been out for 5 days, and it's over 8 million players at the moment. So it's doing very well. And people are looking at the same numbers for Forza Horizon 4. That's the one that comes before 5. Come on, brain. And I think that took like 2.5 months to hit like 4 million or something. And this has hit like double that in like less than a week. So.
It's one of the it's the biggest launch for an Xbox first party game, and it's one of the highest rated games of the year so far.
It is the highest rated game.
It's the highest. It's funny because we've been hearing about Game of the Year awards, and that's coming up soon. A lot of people saying there's not been that many big games coming out, which equates to there's not been like a big AAA game like a Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima or something like that. But there's been good games, and like no one really mentioned Forza Horizon because it's a racing game and it's a bit niche. But there's been a lot of like these roguelike games or these loop games like Deathloop, was it Returnal,
yeah.
and games like that. There have been many games like that coming out. But I think Psychonauts should be on there. Should definitely be considered. I think that's a great game. But again, people say no, it's a niche game. But I'm like, it's fun. Like if that's
a 3D
platformer,
that's not really that niche.
Does it have to be like
an action adventure game?
Does it have to be a cinematic like game, like AAA, like you're basically playing a film to be a game of the year contender? I mean, come
I'll
on,
say
man.
it right now. Psychonauts 2 is the best game I've played
Yeah.
this year. I absolutely loved it from start to finish.
I mean,
So that probably will be my game of the year.
come on, like Knights of the Republic, Dragon Age Inquisition won Game of the Year, and that I didn't think that would deserve Game of the Year 2014. I was like, it's okay. It's not a Game of the Year though. Get the fuck out of here. Running on the Frostbite engine, which can't support RPGs properly. Come on, but yeah.
If Forza Horizon does get snubbed for like, if it doesn't even get nominated, then there's something wrong there because it is the best reviewed game this year. Like, as far as like major releases go, I think there's a couple of like remasters and stuff that might be above it, but in terms of like original new games this year, I'm pretty sure it's number one. And like I say, 8 million people playing it in the first week, might even hit 10 million before the first weekend. Who knows? If that doesn't get nominated, there's some fuckery going on, quite frankly. Because it always ends up in like sports. It gets put in the sports games category for some fucking stupid reason. And I think Forza Horizon 4 won best sports / racing game the year it came out. It's just like it's a game. Like, why can it not be? Why does it have to be specific genre of the year? It should be in the game of the year discussion. It's very, very good. I don't really like racing games, and I've played probably about 5 hours of it so far. Just played it when it went into Game Pass. Didn't do the early access thing or anything, but it is very, very good. I think it deserves to be in the conversation.
Cool. Another piece of gaming news is the apparently the launch of GTA, the remastered trilogy, has been pulled.
It's a shit show, apparently.
It's a shit show. I don't know if that's on just on PC. I think it's just on PC where it's been pulled. I'm not too sure if it's like on all platforms. But it's not. I've been playing San Andreas and I think it's fine. I mean, like I've granted I've only played like 4 hours, but I find it fine. Like, people have been complaining maybe about, I don't know what like the big complaint is. Do you know
some wild bugs?
Yeah,
I'll be honest, I do not like Grand Theft Auto, so I don't really go out of my way to read stuff about it, but I've seen some of the bugs. And as far as I know, it is on all platforms, and there's just some crazy stuff. Like the weather system seems to be completely bugged. Like, if it rains, it can just take over the entire screen. And then I saw a clip where a guy was flying in a plane, and if he tilted his plane a certain angle, the rain started going back up. It was raining upwards. And then there was another guy who stopped at lights, and then his car just flipped out and flew through the air about 400 yards. And then when it landed, it exploded, and he got a game over. It's just like crazy shit like that.
And they're charging £60, $70 in the US, 60 quid here, I think, for 25-year-old games that are buggy as hell. Just play the originals, man. Come on.
Well, I think they've taken the originals down from all the stores that had them, haven't they, to sell that?
Oh, God.
If I remember correctly. I might be remembering that correctly. I'm sure I read that. I say I don't pay attention to Grand Theft Auto too much, so I might have misheard that. But the impression I got is they've removed all the original versions from sale to sell that.
Oh, shitballs.
Looks like it's a bit of a mess for some people, at least.
Yeah. So, anything else, Mr. Ross, before we get going? The main topic?
We have the Xbox 20th anniversary stream tomorrow.
Shit. Yeah.
At 6 p.m. UK time. So yeah, they've said that, like, don't expect any big news from it. It's just like a look back over 20 years of Xbox. But I reckon there might be some small stuff. There's been a lot of smoke around like new back compat titles being added and stuff. And you never know, they might throw out a trailer for an already released game or something. I'd imagine most of the big stuff's going to be kept for like the TGAs at this point, because last year's TGA has had something like 80 million viewers. So you want your big reveals on that, really. But might have some smaller stuff. And I'm certainly expecting BC stuff.
It'll be nice to have something, just a little.
Yeah, just something to watch, isn't it?
Because they got so many pies baking in the oven, man. I just want some little crumbs of it, man. Like, they got so much going cooking. It'd just be nice. Speaking of like new games and gameplay, Elden Ring had they had like that private network
test.
Yeah. to be honest, I've been watching it and I'm like, this is it's from software. I was like, this is kind of like just like a Dark Souls game, really, isn't it? It just looks like a Dark Souls game,
It's
and there's
basically open
difference.
world Dark Souls, isn't it?
It is different. I think it is more open to newcomers, and it's not so hard as, say, like a Dark Souls game. It's more sort of like easier, if that's the word, if I can use that word. And but I looked at it, and the look, the feel, I think the gameplay's slightly different. They tweaked it, certain things, but I was just like, well, is it just Dark Souls? But I don't know. Will I get it? Possibly. I mean, yeah. I mean, everyone seems really hyped for it. But I never was really into Dark Souls, so I'm not sure. I might just wait a month or so to see how it is, and then maybe dip my toes into it. Because if it is more like a sort of not like casual, but like less punishing, yeah, I'll probably get it, because I don't, I like to enjoy. I like some difficulty, not somewhere it's just like you just want to throw your controller against the wall. So
yeah, I never really got into Dark Souls. I bought the first one at launch. I've got like the day one edition on the shelf up there. It came with an art book and everything. I was quite excited for it, and I played about 10 hours of it, I think, on the 360 when it launched. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it in fits and starts, but then I just I got a bit tired of just inching forward like a tiny bit every life, and just end up drifting away from it. I've started it 4 times because it's one of those games that everybody that talks about it just doesn't have a bad word to say about it. So you're like, I really should give it a decent shout. And I started it again last year. And I think I probably got about halfway into it, and I was enjoying it quite a lot more, but I just got to one particular area and I was just like, oh, I'm bored now. And I just stopped playing it. I think I played about 20 hours of it, and I was just like, I'm bored now. So, those games just aren't really for me, I don't think. And that's fine. Not everything has to be for everyone.
Sorry to cut you off, but we want to, like, because you're going to fall asleep. So let's. I got one more bit of gaming news. Is probably a bit old, but Animal Crossing had a free update. I mean, I've not played Animal Crossing. I own it. I think I'm late to the party, man. So I don't know if I'll ever play it.
Missed that boat.
But everyone who plays it loves it. And it's kind of like its own sort of bubble at the moment. I don't know if new people can really get into it, because it's I think that was a sort of like a lockdown game. Everyone was playing it during the lockdown, but now that everything's sort of opening up, I think that's going to that's faded away. But I think that's all the gaming news, isn't it? Yeah.
Nothing else comes to mind for me.
So we'll get on to juicy main topic, which is Mr. Brawls. There's bad games. This is about you. This is your life. I'm gonna have people come in who influenced your life
and embarrassed me.
But there's been bad games, Mr. Rawls.
There have been.
There's always a bad game in a series. So we're going to talk about this is not necessarily make them bad, as in the technically bad, like graphic, anything like that. It's just like probably like the least cherished game in a franchise or trilogy. So we're just going to talk about that, because everyone knows one what springs to mind, which is Mass Effect 3. Disclosure, it's not a bad game. It's good. It's good.
It's a good game for the vast majority of it.
If you compare it, we've all got picks. So I was just going to talk, because obviously Roars has got one as well. But mine, we're going to talk. We can just talk about it, because I think we both agree that our picks they're interchangeable. But Mass Effect 3 for me is probably it is the weakest out of the 3. It goes like, if we compare 1 to 3, 1 it's an RPG, really, isn't it? It is like a RPG. You got leveling up, you got customization. All right. 3 is more of a sort of Call of Duty cinematic shooter with very small RPG elements with it.
It's a very blockbuster video game.
And it's not just the ending. I mean, the ending in itself we could talk about. There was a huge controversy, obviously, about it. It was like the world was ending. I didn't like it, but I think back on it, I think maybe I made it too big of a deal, like change the end. Who the fuck am I to ask them to change the end? Yeah, but out of that original trilogy, it kind of ended on a whimper. But I remember playing it. I was just like, it's good, but I kind of wish it wasn't just all spectacle. It had its moments, but it just didn't feel as sort of story based as the other two. Obviously, because it's a war, but it really did feel like I was playing Call of Duty in space at some points. So
missions were very, very linear as well, which plays into that. I mean, they are linear in the other two games, but they felt like literal corridors in a lot of the time in Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
But it was just very sort of you kind of get the sense they were like, okay, all these games are coming out and getting more cinematic and everything. We need to hang with those. It was very much like the big summer blockbuster kind of deal. And at the time we were talking about it because obviously we've been playing them since the first one, and we've always talked about them as we're playing them. And I remember at the time we were saying, like before it came out, we were like, they kind of gave some lip service to like, oh yeah, we're going back to the RPG roots a bit more. I remember them specifically saying stuff like that, and you and me were quite positive about it. And then when it came out, we were like, this is more stripped down than 2 was. Like, what the fuck were they talking about? Because it's like you got 1, which is like you say, it is pretty much an RPG. 2 kind of sands the edges off that a bit and makes it more of a sort of third-person shooter with RPG systems. And then 3 is the third-person shooter with RPG elements, and it's just like as they went on, they progressively like tapered the RPG stuff off. I specifically remember them between 2 and 3 saying, "Oh no, we're gonna big up the RPG stuff a bit more," and you and me were like, "Yes."
It kind of reminds me when games add RPG elements to like a shooter or something like that, or an action platformer. It kind of reminds me of that, where they like put like weapon customization. Like customization of like you can change the colors of the it didn't, you know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be like that. And it did appeal more to the mainstream. It's sort of I mean, like it did have good moments in it, but the missions were very tacked on. I mean, you would walk past and pick up like a mission, like you didn't even realize you picked it up. You look in your mission list and go, oh, I picked up a mission. Where did that come from? It seemed like you would interact with a character, and sometimes you get like loads of dialogue in the first one, even the second one, third one. It'll be like, oh, can you go and do this for me? He wouldn't even be face to face. It would just sort of like be in passing. I was like, oh, what was that? But yeah,
you just hear an NPC going, Shepard, I got a job for you or something, and it just appear in your journal.
Yeah, just appear, and like obviously like character customization's got like you can't customize you can't give them armor, change their armor. Like the leveling up was fucking basic in one. So basic. It's just like, oh my god, this is not great. And especially when you're like all your character stats carried over from each game, and you know, like if you level up in max out in Mass Effect 1, you're like a god. Then it's sort of they strip that back a lot in Mass Effect 2. It's just like, okay, all that hours, and I thought that was going to carry over. In Mass Effect 3, holy shit, it's just like, oh, might as well just start with a new character again, because this is just like
Mass Effect 3, it was just like unlock ability. Yeah. And you choose one of these 2 abilities, and you're like, all right, now I'm on this path.
Yeah.
Just like in Mass Effect 1, if you wanted to, you could pretty much max out everything.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that because it makes it more flexible for how you want to spec your character, rather than just say, all right, you're on one of 2 tracks. But I felt it was so pared back in those systems.
Mass Effect 3, cool. Right, let's go on because we got a few more to get through. What is your one? I believe what is your choice?
Well, this kind of we talked about this like a week ago, I think, when you brought the subject up, and you were like, oh, Final Fantasy 13 would be a good one. And I was like, actually, for me, it would be Final Fantasy 12. Because Final Fantasy 13, I actually managed to finish Final Fantasy 12 I've never finished. I just can't get through it. And it's weird because I'm playing it and I'm like, the world seems cool. Characters, some of them seem pretty cool, some of them not. But I kind of like how it's sort of like Shakespeare meets Star Wars. But it's just, I always get part way through it and then just drift away from it. I just get so bored of it. And I think I've started that game like 4 times and I've never finished it. And it's just, I'll be honest, like, I hate the combat. I hate just having to set up gambits. Because if you haven't played Final Fantasy 12, you basically set up gambits. So they're kind of like programming language effectively. So it's like, if this, then this. So it's like, if health below 50%, then use a potion. You have to set all that stuff up, and you can set it up so that literally the game plays itself. So I can imagine there's some satisfaction in that, in sort of like getting out your party and doing all your gambits and then just letting them go off and then just sort of almost like RTS style, like commander view of it, and just going, yeah, I wonder how my AI routines will handle this. But I just don't enjoy that at all. And I get to a point where I'm like, I really don't want to tweak gambits for every new area I go in, because it's like, all right, in this area the enemies use a lot of poison, so I better set up an antidote gambit. I do not want to do that. It's just it feels like busy work to me. It's just like constantly going into menus and tapping buttons in menus. And people say Final Fantasy 13's battle system was very basic and stripped back, and it was. Wouldn't argue that, but at least you felt kind of reasonably involved because you had to set up your paradigm decks and switch between them at the right moment and stuff like that. But 12, it just felt 2 hands off to me, and the world is very, very large. It's like an MMO. They're like big zones, and they're extremely barren. There's just not much in it to do other than just run around and battle. And I can't get through it. I've tried it 4 times. I can't get through it. The furthest I've got is probably about the halfway point. You're supposed to go to Arcades, I think it is, the Imperial capital. That's as far as I've ever got in it, and I just couldn't bear to go on. So yeah, 12 is mine. It's the only one in the series I don't actually dislike.
Yeah, like mine. I mean, we can go into 13, but I think 13 is pretty much, that's been done to death.
Still has.
Yeah,
still has its fans though.
Yeah, so does 12, but it doesn't make it.
12 probably has more fans. There are people that call 12 their favorite game in the series, and I'm not going to sit here and say no, it's a bad game. Those people are wrong. It's just, for me, it's the worst in the series.
Well, they try to make 13 something it wasn't, man. Like they really try to push. They try to really push it, especially with the sequels, and they're like the sequels it got. I was just like, stop trying to make it a thing. It's just not going to happen, man. Just leave it. Just move on with your life. Try and make the next game better. And they didn't really. 15 is not that much better. So like, fuck.
15 feels like potential, but like they didn't finish the game. It feels like if they'd actually finished the game, it might have been something special, but it's just very underbaked.
Yeah,
which is a shame. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, 14 is my favorite in the entire series. So
yeah, okay,
might be an unpopular
opinion
to hold, but there you are. But yeah, for me, 12, just don't enjoy it.
Cool.
Don't like it.
All right, cool. I'm just gonna mention another game which is going to be controversial, and I just mentioned it earlier. It's in the Mass Effect games, but I think is the weakest. It's not going to be what everyone thinks it is. It's going to be Inquisition. I don't think Inquisition is as good as everyone made
Mass
out to
Effect, so I was expecting you to say Andromeda.
No. I said the Dragon Age. That, like, I could say Andromeda, but everyone knows about that. But I'm going to pick a sort of controversial opinion. I think 2 is better than Inquisition. I do. I think it's better. I don't
think that's that controversial, because a lot of people really disliked Inquisition, especially the further we get from it.
I mean, at the time, we got huge praise. I mean, it won a Game of the Year award, for fuck's sake. I don't know how that happened, but I was thinking, oh yeah, it's good, man. It's good. It's got the open world, open zones, a lot of things to do, but I don't know, man. I just thinking about it, making a game long doesn't make it better. And the story was kind of thin, and they stretched it out for like, I
The
don't know,
story
for
was
like,
actually quite short. Yeah,
like if you strip away all the side quests, stuff that meaningless stuff that you really have to do, you didn't have to do it at all. The main mission's probably about 15 hours,
it's not
15,
long
20.
at all.
It's not long, and I don't think it is as good as people were making it out to be at the time. I still personally think Mass Effect, Dragon Age 2 had a better story. I like the sort of the anthology they did of following one person's life throughout his time in Kirkwall, seeing him,
I really appreciate that.
seeing the person start from the bottom and work their way up, and that journey across what happens to his or her life is really interesting. Yeah, it had its problems. Like people go, oh, but they reused like the dungeons. It's the same
They
thing.
really reused them.
They really. Oh, look,
Really
I hold my
reused
hand
them.
up. Like I say, yeah, it's got problems, but I don't think it's the worst one out of the two. Like out of the three. Like obviously, Origins is great. It's a masterpiece. 2 had its problems, but it had a lot to follow up, and it had sort of a short development cycle as well. Something similar to what happened.
That's why it was so kind of
but
repetitive.
If you think about it, right, the idea that they were trying to go for was pretty good. It's pretty unique, like to chart a person's life, the trials and tribulations of it, right? And if you think about 3 Inquisition, it was like they copied so many games, like obviously Skyrim, The Witcher, and stuff like that. They tried to mishmash all that together, and it just didn't really hold together, to be honest with you.
Well, to be fair, it came out a year before The Witcher 3, and The Witcher 2 was very much a cult favourite, but it wasn't a massive success like 3 was. So I don't know if they copied that as such, but it felt like it was kind of in the midst of Game of Thrones as well, so you can tell they tried to kind of go for a bit of that with like the part where you go to the Orlais, the palace in Orlais, and then partake of all the like the political intrigue and stuff. That felt very sort of Game of Thrones influenced. But yeah, for me, I agree with you that 2 is underappreciated. We've talked about this before. It definitely had its problems. Like the reuse of content was crazy, but again, that was because they were kind of forced into a very short development cycle. But I think as a game that you play, Inquisition is better, but as a story 2 is better.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just grabbing a drink.
That's where I stand. I actually really liked Inquisition. I put like 300 hours into it with all the DLC and everything.
Yeah.
But they had a lot of ties to the novels. I really like the Dragon Age novels. And Inquisition had a lot of like little nods to the novels, so that kind of elevated it a bit.
I'm not saying like it's shit. It's not shit. It's good. I liked it. I completed it. I did look a few of the DLCs, but I think 2 is just better story, better characters. I quite like the characters in 2. Seeing their relationships, seeing their relationships develop over what it was a 10-year period, which was interesting. Yeah, like keep saying short development time. You had enemies that just fall through the roof, through the ceiling.
Always bothered me.
And I was just like,
cleared out the enemies. Are like, all right, great, battle over, and they just jump over a wall,
and they just sort of fall out the sky. It's like,
why are Kunari just falling out of the sky for fuck's sake?
But if you iron all that, if they had the time to cultivate what they wanted to do, it could have been a very good story, a very intimate sort of story.
I do think it was a good story.
No, like
the best game.
Yeah, but I still think it is, in terms of like, if we're talking story, it's above Inquisition.
I agree with that. The story of Inquisition was a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, and it kind of ended abruptly. It's just sort of like, there was a like right, no spoilers, but you get Skyhold, beautiful castle. You're like, here we go. Skyhold. I said Skyfall. You think, I spend all this money to renovate it, to build up its defenses, and you think that's going to play a part in the upcoming battle? Doesn't. It's just the battle just sort of happens.
It's just for your own amusement, just to make it look nice.
So that's my controversial pick for like the game that's the weakest.
The final DLC is amazing though.
But but we can't really talk because that's really spoilerish. So
But it kind of did a similar thing that 2 did. Like 2 did its story, and then its final DLC was literally
Legacy.
Yeah,
Was it Legacy?
Literally,
Yeah.
I think it was Legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when
It was literally like mandatory.
They seem to
because
do that.
that
Yeah,
leads directly into the next one,
yeah.
and then the same thing with
Corypheus fucking turns up. Yeah.
And then they did exactly the same with Inquisition. They finished the story of that game, and then the final DLC is literally like a mandatory story thing to tie into the next one. So it kind of, I kind of appreciate that in the one hand because it ties in very directly, but also it's like, well, if you don't play the DLC, like a lot of people don't play the DLC, they're going to kind of come in and be slightly lost in the next one. But anyway, that's a different discussion.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Ross, you got anything? What's your choice?
This one probably will be a little bit controversial.
Tell me.
I'll probably do a joint one, but I'd love me some Halo. Halo's probably my favorite series, that or Final Fantasy. And I've always felt a bit like the campaign of Halo 2 is not the best.
See, I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say 4 or something like that.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Yeah, here's the thing, Daddy.
Well, Halo 2's campaign, you can tell it kind of got cut in half the way it ends. It was supposed to be much longer. It was supposed to, pretty much the entire like Earth part of Halo 3 was supposed to be in Halo 2. And they literally rebooted development a year before it came out and had to remake the game from scratch in a year, which is why it ends like that. But it's just some of the levels are such a slog. Like we did it, Let's Co-op of it, last year? I think we played that. And it only served to illustrate how much of a slog, especially the Arbiter levels on Delta Halo with the Flood, it's just so long and not particularly enjoyable. And you come from Halo C, which had these huge open levels. Granted, they were fairly empty, but they were big, and you felt like you had quite a lot of space. Halo 2 feels very claustrophobic going into that. A lot of the levels feel much more linear, closed-in corridors. You get the vehicles worked in Halo 1 because of these big open spaces. Every time you get a vehicle in Halo 2, it's literally like you're driving in a straight line from A to B. Like the tank, the first one that comes to mind obviously is the tank section on the bridge on Earth. It's you're literally just driving across the bridge and that's it. And all the vehicle segments are like that really. They're just like, here, you get a vehicle here, go to there. And I don't know, that's something 343 feels like they've kind of fallen into that trap as well, because every vehicle part in 4 and 5 are like that as well. But I will tie it with 4 because 4 feels very similar to 2 to me. This is something that always kind of pops up when I think about 4, because you come in from 3 and Reach, which were very large games, especially Reach. Those maps were huge and very wide. And then in 4, again, feels very like closed in corridors and claustrophobic. So those 2 games have always felt quite similar to me. And a lot of Halo fans get upset about that. I've posted this on forums before and people got very upset because they love Halo 2 and they hate Halo 4, and they're like, no, they can't be compared. One is amazing and the other is shit. But to be clear, I don't think either of these games are bad. I think both the campaigns are good.
I mean,
to like other FPS games.
What we're saying is like, I keep saying, I reiterate, these are not bad games. It's just out of the current, the series franchise, they don't stand up, like basically, yeah. So yeah, I agree with you, but I thinking about it when you were talking about it, I was like, you know what, like, what was the last one? Halo Guardians, which you had shit. Who was the co-op guy? Who was the second character? Locke. Yeah, I kind of thinking, oh god, I didn't like that. I didn't like. Well, I mean, we did a let's play and I played it, and I kind of feel like I wanted to play as Chief. I don't know if they were pushing Locke to be the new face of Halo. It kind of felt like it. I felt like the Master Chief was sort of shoved out of his own franchise. He was silent. You played more as when a Delta team, were they?
Cyrus.
they play you. They seem to be you played more as a Team Osiris than you did.
You do, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like 2/3 to a third.
Yeah, so I
It's
don't know
kind
what
of
they were
mad
doing
to
with
think
that.
about.
Yeah, I was like, this is literally the face of the franchise, face of Xbox, or the helmet of Xbox, and you're sort of pushing him out of
The
his own
visor of
game.
Xbox.
Yeah, it's just like doesn't really make sense, and they seem to have learned their lesson. And Halo Infinite is, from more
Well, I mean, they
accounts,
could have learnt
looking
their
to be
lesson
good.
from Bungie. Like Bungie did it with Halo 2, and people lost
Yeah,
their minds at the
but
time.
wasn't that more equal? It was sort
It
of
was.
split down the
That
middle.
was pretty much 50-50.
Mm.
And people lost their minds at playing as the Arbiter when that game came out. So you think 343 would have looked at it and gone, well, people didn't like playing as another character half the time. Maybe they'll like it more if they have to play as the other character 2/3 of the time. Oh, that's the wrong way.
Yeah.
I've said this before. What they should have done is release like an ODST size game with Osiris in it to introduce them, and then have Halo 5 be a Chief game. But they've said like that was their main thing they learned from that going into Infinite, is that people want to play as Chief. So
I mean,
Chief all the way in Infinite.
It seems like it's only just Chief. I don't know what's happened to Osiris team or the Infinite or any of the other Spartans and Palmer, anyone. They all seem to be taken out. I'm just like, oh shit.
Part of the opening mystery, I guess. I mean, maybe
I'm
we'll
very
have to go and find them on Halo.
I'm very intrigued to see where they go with that, because especially with the cliffhanger ending of 5, I was just like, what's happened? Apparently Cortana's is not a thing anymore. That's been taken care of. So who knows, man? Like I'm intrigued to see.
That's going to be one of the main thrusts of Infinite, finding out what happened. So I think it's supposed to be like 18 months after the end of 5.
Right.
So I guess you'll be finding out.
But we haven't got much time left. It's coming out soon. Can't wait.
Yeah, it is less than a month away at this point. I'm very excited.
It doesn't have a co-op, but that gives us time to play the single player. And when they do release a co-op, we can do videos on that. So it's all good. We can get through it.
But yeah, 2 and 4, I think, kind of stand out as the weakest campaigns.
I agree with you.
Some people will say 5, but I actually, aside from like playing as Osiris too much, I like the campaign of 5, and I think the level design's really good. I feel the level design is the things that let 2 and 4 down. They just feel too narrow and constrained.
I mean, I agree with you, and I'm gonna we can let you off because they were both done by 2 different studios, each one like 2, obviously Bungie and 343. So yeah, yep. So let's talk about Resident Evil. I mean, shit. There's been some bad games in that.
That's an easy one.
I mean, but if let's not even talk about main games, right? I
feel like this will be unanimous. Everyone listening.
I kind of feel like we shit on. It's been shit on enough, but it deserves to get shit on, and that is Resident Evil 6.
It was so bad.
5 is actually not too bad a game. We're doing let's cope with that. Please give that a watch. I actually
it is worse than I remember, to be fair, but
yeah. And the thing is with 5, what I don't like is that they take itself too seriously. I like Resident Evil's firm tongue in cheek. It's like pretty campy, and it's quite ridiculous. 5 kind of went more serious. It's sort of, because I think it came out when the Call of Duty.
It's just as ridiculous, but they're playing it very serious.
Very serious. It's kind of because of the Call of Duties were coming out and stuff like that. At that time, they were trying to be more grounded and more serious and more. Do you know what I mean? Like more like, oh, life and death, and this is the end, and very. But I kind of was like, this is ridiculous. Like some of the bits of it is just absolutely ridiculous. I like, how can you like say be serious and keep a straight face with the shit that's going on here? I mean, honestly, but yeah, 6. Holy shit, man! Like we were suckered into that when we played Leon's campaign. When they were the only promotional
stuff. They put the demo out, didn't they?
Yeah, they were pushing 6.
One part 6. Of Leon's.
Yeah, they were like, oh, it's how old Resident Evil, man. It's how it is. If you like the old style Resident Evil, it's here. Yeah, in the first couple of hours, it did feel like it, even though they did throw a ridiculous amount of zombies at you. Then even in his own campaign, it got more and more ridiculous the more you played of it. And I completed Leon's campaign. I was like, holy shit, am I fighting a giant T-Rex? Or a giant bowfly or whatever.
Blue bottle fly.
What is going on? This is just stupid.
That just got really silly at the end.
I
with
never
the
played.
stupid transformations.
I never played Jake's campaign. I didn't. I was like, fuck it. I completed Leon's. I complete Chris's. I was like, I'm not going to play Jake. Fuck that guy. I've had enough. Resident Evil. You've taken too much of my time.
That was Troy Baker's finest hour, Paul.
No, it wasn't. Troy Baker's
Yeah.
finest hours when he played old man Joel when his head got smashed in.
Man, remember 2013? Remember
Mm.
when he was the lead in BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us in the same year?
Oh, he is. He was. No, he still is like one of the top voice actors.
He is a very good voice actor.
Very talented. He's too talented for
good.
my liking. I mean, I can make a podcast about him, man. He's like just how he's handsome. You've seen him. He's tall. He's like 6'4". He
can play the guitar.
He's musically talented. He can sing. He can do voices. He can act. It's just too much, you know. Like he's genetically like he put everything together, throw it in. Out comes Troy Baker. He's just like, oh god, please. He's like how the Nazis wanted like people to be. It's just
Troy
genetic.
Baker is the Uber
super Uber Aryan dude. I mean, but I joke, but he
went places.
He's obviously passionate about what he does. He likes games. He likes like the geek culture. And
Dan got him to do a Christopher Walken impression when we went to his signing.
Oh yeah, I didn't go to that. Yeah. I was like, fuck that. He's too good looking. He makes me have like depression. Because I look at him and look at him and look at myself. I'm like, damn, I wish.
Yeah. Getting back on topic, I guess. Resident Evil 6, I did play the 3 campaigns because you had to beat those 3 to unlock Ada's campaign.
Yeah, I couldn't give a shit about
Ada's campaign is the best thing in the game, and I did all of it, and I did the first level of Ada's campaign. I was like, no, I can't play any more of this, and I never went back to it.
No,
it's just not good.
I refuse to subject myself to any more Resident Evil 6.
It played pretty well, to be fair. Like you could do all the weird, like crazy dodge stuff and like shuffling around on the floor with your gun up. And as a third-person shooter, it played fairly well. It was just the story was just so ridiculous. Like I'll use this term I've only ever used for one other game, and that was Modern Warfare 2's campaign. It was offensively stupid. You just feel like you're playing it and you're thinking, these people think I'm a fucking idiot. Because it was just so over the top ridiculous and stupid. And like you mentioned, like the things turning into T-Rexes and blue bottle flies and jaguars on the train tracks and stuff. It was just so dumb. It was like, do you know what it was like?
No, tell me.
It was like the Resident Evil films in a game.
The Mila Djokovic
W.S. Anderson films.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's just stupid. It's just really dumb.
Pretty much killed the franchise for a while too.
Yeah, I mean that's why they went back to its sort of roots, but it went first person with Resident Evil 7, which is good. It sort of that saved the franchise. It's really giving it a new lease of life. Obviously you had 8 come out, and that's pretty much well liked. It's not scary, but it's well liked.
The remakes too. Remake 2.
Oh yeah,
amazing,
Remake 2. It was probably like, when did it come out? 2018. Probably one of my game of the years for that year. It's just so good, so polished.
I think it might have been 2019. I think 3 was 2020, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Maybe I'm a year off.
Maybe a year off. I do remember we did a Let's Play of that, and I don't know if that was 2018 or 2019. I can't remember.
It was around there. It was one of those years. It's just a very, very well made game.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think Resident Evil 2 Remake is probably one of the best games of last gen. It's that good.
But yeah,
it's kind of crazy to see where it's come from.
Resident Evil 6 is like the, sort of the drunken uncle no one really likes to have around at their Christmas parties. But yeah, anything else, Mr. Ross? You got any other games that you have spring to mind?
I do have one other example, actually. One last one, and it's kind of a surprising one. So it's an Assassin's Creed game, and it's the Assassin's Creed game I always wanted from the franchise, and then when I got it, I kind of hated it, and that is Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Is that the one set in London?
That's the one set in Victorian London, which I was like, when they announced it, I was like, yes, I'm in, take my money. I'll buy the special edition. I have like, that was when Ubisoft started getting stupid with the special editions, and there was like a fucking spreadsheet for all the stuff you got in across like 6 different special editions. So I got one of those special editions, and it's kind of okay, I guess. It's very much like the end point of that sort of breed of Assassin's Creed before they went basically turned it into an RPG with Origin, which I actually love. Assassin's Creed Origins, I think that's a genuinely great game. But Syndicate is basically the culmination, the end point of all the really annoying shit in the previous incarnation of Assassin's Creed. So the crappy tailing missions and all the weird collision issues when you're trying to climb up buildings and you're getting stuck on the edge of a chimney or something. It all just felt so much more prominent in that one for some reason. I actually really liked Unity, the one set in Paris, which came out beforehand.
Wasn't that really buggy?
It was at launch. I played it like 6 months after when they patched it up, and I genuinely really enjoyed it. And I don't remember having as many issues just trying to get around the world as I did in Syndicate. And it feels like they gave you the zip line in Syndicate, and it kind of feels like a concession to like, yeah, we know this style of movement's getting a bit long in the tooth, and it's kind of irritating. So here's a Batman zip line. And it helped a bit, but it also kind of took away the main part of the series. The series has always been about climbing like historical buildings, and if you can just like look up and press RB and just zip to the top of it, it kind of takes that away from it.
Well, they've done that in the RPG era of Assassin's Creed. It's not about stealthy assassinations anymore. It's wading in there and hitting people.
Yeah, I mean, Origins and Odyssey are basically effectively like a complete reboot, but they actually rebooted it into something decent. So I'm kind of okay with that because they're good.
Have you not played Valhalla?
I haven't, because I still haven't played Odyssey because it's so long.
See, I'm not.
Odyssey is actually really good as well.
With Assassin's Creed, I've given up with that. I'm just like, I don't give. With a lot of Ubisoft games, they run them into the ground. Far Cry, I couldn't give a fuck about anymore. I'm just like, it's the same thing. A charismatic dictator or enemy that you have to face, liberate, join factions, choose a faction, take down that. Do you know what I mean? It's just cut and paste. And the new one, like
the last Far Cry I played was 3, and after that I was like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, like it has been the same, hasn't it? It's been the same thing.
Every time a new one comes out, I watch footage and go, "This is Far Cry 3 with a different coat of paint."
It's just they've added a few new gameplay bits to it. It's just the same thing. Oh, it's got co-op now, so great.
I remember when the first Watch Dogs came out. You remember how hyped people were when Watch Dogs was first announced? Because that announcement trailer was very cool. And I got about 5 hours into it when the game came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm done with Ubisoft games now. That was the point where they were really like homogenized. It was like you had Assassin's Creed, and then it was like historical Assassin's Creed, and then Watch Dogs was like modern Assassin's Creed, and then Far Cry was first person Assassin's Creed. All of them, you were like climbing towers to open up the map to do the same kind of busy work quests and stuff. And after a few hours of Watch Dogs, I was like, right, I'm done with the Ubisoft games now. And I don't think I played any more for like 2 years at that point, and then kind of tried to catch back up again with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
but anyway. I'm still like halfway through Odyssey. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I thought I'd love it, and I just ended up wanting it to end and go away, please.
Cool.
I did finish it, but it was such a slog.
I have one more choice. I mean, I think there's plenty more, but we could be here all night. But it's one of my favorite. Well, I know it's one of your favorite horror franchises. Well, it was, and I know they're bringing it back. There's a remake of that, but it is Dead Space 3. It was so bad that they fucking closed the studio. They shut it down because it did so bad, and it was all the things that EA wanted in a game, they pushed it on the studio that they wanted these things in the game, and because it didn't perform well because of what they wanted, they shut the studio down. But yeah, Dead Space 3, what a fucking shame. What happened there? Weakest one. I think that's universal. Like, some of our picks have been controversial, but this one is pretty straightforward. It is.
That's like a Resident Evil 6 style pick.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to argue that.
I mean, let's just talk about the first one. Great game. Second one, they took what was good from the first, tweaked it a bit, made that the sort of template that it should have been for the third one. And then with the third one, they just sort of went, well, we'll take everything that's good with the first two games, sort of chuck that out and add all this new stuff that's currently popular in gaming. And it turned out to be a universally panned. But to be fair, it didn't play badly. It still played pretty well. It just wasn't what people wanted from that particular franchise.
Yeah, I mean, the first two are pretty good analogs to like Alien and Aliens. Like, in terms of sort of scale of the threat, they're fairly similar. Like, it's not like in one there's only one necromorph like in Alien, but it feels like one is a more intimate kind of game because it's pretty much entirely on the Ishimura, and similarly to like the Nostromo in Alien, and then Dead Space 2 opens it up a bit. You're on a big space station. There are other survivors around. Crazy set pieces and stuff. Feels a little bit more actiony, but still very much a horror game. Just it has some set pieces that maybe you might have seen in like a sci-fi Uncharted, like the bits where you got to like fly from one side of the station to the other in Zero G, which was very cool. If you ask
some of it reminds me of like Event Horizon and stuff like that, with the body horror and all that shit and all that.
It's like a mix of Alien, Event Horizon, The Thing, kind of all smashed into one. And then 3 comes along, and EA is like, okay, it's got to have co-op. You've got to be able to shoot other humans. It's got to have crafting, and it's got to have microtransactions. Literally nothing that would have worked in the series.
Microtransactions, which is still a thing. They just keep repackaging it to be something different. You know, they got loot boxes and all that shit that they got called out on. I mean, come on. But anyway, that's another topic, man. We could talk about that. But yeah, like you say, man, they decided to add these sort of things that at the time were popular in particular games. They wanted that added into it to make it more accessible to the casual gamer.
Make it more mainstream. They were trying to chase the Call of Duty audience.
That seems like
just like Resident Evil was at the same time.
It kind of seems like a thing, doesn't it? With another EA franchise, which was Mass Effect, sort of were chasing the Call of Duty Battlefield crowd with that Mass Effect 3.
I mean, almost everyone's done it. You had even Final Fantasy name-checked Call of Duty when they were making 3, and you can kind of see how that influenced it with how sort of narrow it was. It was literally walk down a corridor and fight people, or monsters rather, but you can see how Call of Duty influenced that. I mean, like, Call of Duty getting so big, like, I'm going to sound bitter because I don't like Call of Duty, but I think it's been a bit of a fucking scourge on the industry, to be honest. But I mean, the main problem is executives wanting to chase the tails of it. But
well, they're in a business. I get it. The business is to make money, and what was making the most money at the time, which is like Call of Duty. Call of Duty was huge at that time, that period, the early 2000s. It was huge. It was making so much money, billions, and of course they look at it and go, well, why can't we use a current popular franchise, sort of rejig it and sort of make it look like a Call of Duty, but we're keeping the same name. Exactly. So yeah, they wanted to make that money, but it just didn't work. We're not stupid. Like, they think thing is, like, with certain companies, they think gamers are complete idiots, but we always call them out. Every time we call them out on it, and they go, they are,
and they just go, we'll get those idiots next time.
Next time, yeah. They'll eventually fold, and they don't know what they like. We know what they like. Do you know what I mean? So
people will like what I tell them to like.
Pretty much, but they always, it's always a big hoo-ha I mean, like, if we can go back to like Mass Effect 3, if the ending wasn't as bad as it turned out, would it have been people made such a big thing about it? I mean, people still liked the game. It was just the ending which sort of took most people out of it. But as ourselves, who we were more like the RPG guys, we didn't. We sort of we preferred the Mass Effect 1 sort of style. I mean, I love Mass Effect 2, and it is a better game technically. Like like the combat's better and everything like that. It just looks better. But I do prefer the RPG side of Mass Effect 1.
I honestly love Mass Effect 2, and I actually really quite like 3 for the most part. But I spent the entirety of that franchise's lifespan wishing for it to go back to something close to Mass Effect 1. It just never happened.
Never
So
happened.
while I like those games, it was kind of like, yeah, they're good games, but they don't feel like they're not the sequels I wanted to Mass Effect 1.
If we can, like, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but Andromeda sort of went. So they did sort of try to make it more RPG-ish. They did, but they also
did they name checked 1 quite a lot in the development of that.
But it did sort of fall into its trap of what was popular at the time, which is open world. Open world was huge at that time. Everyone wanted their own open world. They even sold it. They were like marketing guys. It's a great big open world that you can explore. Certain games just doesn't really, especially heavily story-based games, they suffer with open world because you want sort of more of a sort of not linear but sort of focused sort of.
You at least want those worlds to be populated with stuff that's of the same quality as the rest of the story, and they just generally aren't, because that would be really labor intensive. But Andromeda's worlds in particular are so barren. There's just literally nothing to do in them of interest.
And another thing, like, it just felt like you were going back to the Milky Way. It didn't feel like I was in another galaxy. You literally went to Andromeda, and it was like populated with species from our galaxy. And
one new race of bipedal aliens.
And you wake up in like half the world is half the planets are colonized by our from the people from the Milky Way. I'm just like, what's happened? And they've built their own societies in the space of a few years, like their own hierarchy. I was like, oh my god! Instead of like exploring new lands, it just like I was just like, oh, I'm pretty much in the Milky Way. It's what it was.
The only new species is the Angara, who look sort of vaguely Prothean anyway, and for some reason sound African.
Yeah,
it was so bereft of any kind of identity or anything, kind of no new ideas in it, basically, even though we're in a whole new galaxy. But that's a whole other video as well, I guess. But in Andromeda,
we can shit on Andromeda, and it has been shit on, and they're going back to making Mass Effect. It's going to be basically for the 4th one, which people are happy about. I'm sort of indifferent about it. I'm like, yeah. And you know what I mean? I'm like,
I'm cautious. I wouldn't say cautiously optimistic. I'd just say I'm cautious.
I'm not like I've had my heart broken so many times, man. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like I'm one of those people now. Are just like so indifferent to all these things. I don't get hyped like you see. Like most people go, "Oh my god!" You see those cringe reaction videos and shit like that.
Well, you're doing reaction videos now, Paul. You got to get hype.
Yeah. I mean, I do. I've done reaction videos. Check them out. Did one from Elden Ring, and the PlayStation.
Yeah, maybe not mention that one.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Like they're bringing back Mass Effect. They're bringing back Dead Space.
EA bringing back Alf in Pog form.
Yeah, I mean, like Mass Effect. Final Fantasy looks like it's going back to its medieval sort of its fantasy roots with Final Fantasy 16.
I'd be so excited for that if Sony hadn't money had it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can talk about Halo seems to be going back to its sort of roots as well.
Spiritual reboot is what they're calling it.
I mean, it looks good. I mean, they did all their graphical updates. They listened to the fans and just like, okay, you got to wait a bit longer. So, but generally, the feedback that they got from the new gameplay trailer has been pretty positive. So, but like I say, these are not bad games, man. Like I rag on them, but they're not. They're good. People love them. They're fans of them. But some of our choices have been controversial. People completely disagree. I know people will probably disagree with what I said about Inquisition and 2. I still will defend 2. I think it's story-wise is better, character-wise is better. You mean like if we can just talk about that just for a sec, like going like through 10 years with the same people, your friends, people are like, oh yeah, but it's a bit boring. Like this is how we live our lives. I've known you for like 20 years now. We've had like this is what people do. We have this group of friends. Typically, we expand on them. We have their ups and downs of disagreements and stuff. And you just show you when you get older and progress and in your life. And I really like that and the idea of that in 2. There's been
I agree.
So,
I agree.
But
and also Meryl is probably one of my favorite Dragon Age characters.
I really like Meryl.
The whole series.
I really like Meryl. Yeah,
I do think it's an underappreciated game.
The thing is, each character, each party member has their own story arc in it. It's not just you who's like things are just happening to you. They happen to your friends as well. You know what I mean? They have their own troubles. They have their own problems throughout each stage of the game. There's 3 acts in it, but they all have their own builds up to each sort of like own arc. They like you have Isabella who has sort of like who's selfish and stuff like that. If you do it correctly, she will come back to you and learn about being friendship, trusting people and stuff like that. And like, oh, I've never had friends. It's small things like that made me really like the game. Yeah, you know. So it's underrated. People like shit on it, but I don't think it's better story wise. I don't think Inquisition's better than story-wise than 2. I think 2 is a better story, and I just stand by the fact that I chose Inquisition as the weaker part because at least Dragon Age 2 was its own thing. It's tried to do its own thing. It's sort of its own unique story. Inquisition tried to be something amalgamation of different things, which sort of suffered. Which the games I think overall suffered, but I still enjoyed it. But when people were like, "Oh, Mass Effect 2 was just terrible," I'm just like, "Yeah, we used a lot of dungeons. Yeah. I get it. It looked a bit like, but story-wise, like, can you say it's better? No, I can't. Like having that personal journey with that character and all your friends. The other thing, you meet new people. You start off and you meet new characters, and they sort of stay with you throughout your whole journey. I mean that's. I can't really think of that many games that did that. Like have a 10-year cycle in one game, you know. Normally, like they split up into 2. Really. I mean, even the Mass Effect trilogy had Commander Shepard for what 4 years, probably pretty much 4 years.
That's over the course of 3 games.
3 games.
You've got stuff like remember when The Last of Us came out, and that's over the course of a year, and people like it's a year-long countrywide journey. I was like, it's pretty cool, but like. You get stuff like that a bit more often than you get something like Dragon Age 2, which is pretty much like almost like half of Hawke's life, basically, you get to see.
And I can't think of anything that did that before. Obviously, there's stuff, like you said, Last of Us have done something similar, but over a 10-year cycle with that one character, I can't really think of much.
Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure there must be stuff.
It probably is, but
obviously there will be stuff that does it over a course of a series. Like say Metal Gear Solid and stuff like that, which focuses on the same character for a number of years, but nothing. Can't think of anything that's done it in one game like that. Yeah. I think that is something pretty unique, and it is something because I played Dragon Age 2 quite late. I think it had been out a couple of years, so I'd already heard all this about how supposedly bad it was when I played it. So I kind of went in with that baggage, with all these like 2 years of people telling me it's shit. And I appreciated what it tried to do story-wise. I did enjoy it. I think, as I think it's an underappreciated game. I think it's kind of similar to what I said with Mass Effect, where Mass Effect 2 and 3, I think they were good games, but they weren't the sequels I imagined for Mass Effect 1. I think a lot of that is the same thing. Like people love Dragon Age Origins, and they imagined something different for Dragon Age 2, and then they got Dragon Age 2. The Dragon Age 2 they got was not what they wanted, and that works against it, and that's valid. You really get into something, then you have expectations for the sequel, and if they're not met, I'm not going to say that's unfair. It's maybe a touch. It's not fair on the game that you do get, but people have expectations of things, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I do think it's underappreciated.
Cool. Anyway, I think that's about it, Mr. Oz. I think we've been going for over an hour, so I think we should wrap it up, man.
Wrap it up like a Christmas present.
That's right. Yeah, it's coming
under the tree.
Coming to Christmas. We'll talk about our game of the years, or we'll talk about the game of the year that's going to be announced soon. I got a feeling Forza Horizon's not going to be on there. I got a feeling it's going to be some.
It's going to be Deathloop or Ratchet and Clank. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be one
of those. It should be by rights. It should be Psychonauts 2.
But I got a feeling that there's going to be some bias in there. But we'll wait and see.
Surely you jest.
Yeah. But the Game Awards, man, I'm looking forward to that. We'll probably do a podcast on that, and maybe I might even stream it. I don't know what will happen. Well,
remember how damn late it's on in the UK though. It's until like 4 a.m.
Shit. Anyway, but anything else you want to say, Mr. Ross? What have you got planned for the channel? Have you got anything, any videos, or have you got any ideas?
Anything? I have a couple of exploring Game Pass things to do. I'm thinking of doing more VR stuff. I think I mentioned that last time. It's just trying to find the time to do it. And I'm hoping for some sales on VR games in the next couple of weeks when Black Friday and everything happens, because VR games don't seem to go on sale very much.
Kind of like Nintendo games.
Yeah, but I'd like to do more VR stuff. I'll be doing more exploring Game Pass stuff. I will have a couple of unboxings coming up early December, sort of first week of December, hopefully, as long as things don't get delayed, which one of them's coming from the Square Enix store, which is garbage, so that probably turn up late, but we'll see.
Yeah, and we don't do Let's Plays on our own anymore. That's a thing of the past, pretty much, I think. But we do Let's Co-ops, so we still got the Resident Evil co-op, Let's Co-op to put up and watch that. Like I said, we're still doing exploring Game Pass, reaction videos. I have a new series I'm going to start. It'll be like a 3 or 4 videos. It won't be too big, of the new GTA San Andreas, which I've been playing. I've already done a video. I'll probably be uploading that. I want to unlock the whole map, so I'm going to take CJ on his bike and go around the whole of the interior of the map, just for a shits and giggles. Hopefully, not get gunned down too much. But yeah, that's something to look forward to. But I think that's going to be it, mate. I think that's it. So just let us know, man. Like, what you think is the weakest game in a franchise. We could have gone a few more, but we wanted to just focus on main titles in the series, not spin-offs or anything like that.
If we went for spin-offs, good lord, we'd be here all week.
Yeah. So please check this out on this podcast is available on YouTube for the visual, Spotify for audio, Google Podcasts as well, and Amazon Music as well. So yeah, check us out. We're out there. If you would just want to hear us two like drunkards just babble on about games, just give us a listen. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you again. Bye.